She was a personal slave until the human freed her and made her his wife. Ethan Cole walked through the busy corridors of the orbit station. It was a large place, floating above a gray gas giant, full of different species from many worlds. Humans were a small group here, sent by Earth to help maintain the trade systems and technology. Ethan was an engineer, and he liked to solve problems and fix machines. The work was hard, but he enjoyed it. Yet, he noticed something strange in the station from the first day. Some beings were treated not like people but like property. As he passed one of the upper halls, he saw her, Lena Gray. She was an alien, smaller than most adults, with pale green skin and large golden eyes. Her hair was silver white, tied simply. She was carrying a tray of drinks, but her movements were careful, almost fearful. Ethan saw the mark on her wrist, a small glowing symbol that indicated she was a personal slave. He had read about it in the briefing papers, but seeing it in real life was different. It made him uncomfortable. Lena looked exhausted, as if every step was heavy. When she caught his eyes for a moment, she quickly looked away. Ethan wanted to speak, but he was careful. He had heard from other humans that the aliens on this station treated their personal slaves as tools. The aliens did not think about their feelings, hopes, or dreams. Lena was assigned to serve one of the most important officers, an alien named Vorin. He was large and intimidating, with dark scales on his arms. She moved wherever he went and did whatever he asked without complaint. She did not smile and she did not laugh. She was invisible to most except when she was needed. Ethan watched her for days, noticing small things that others did not. She sometimes paused for a second, staring at the viewports as if remembering something. Sometimes she hummed quietly when no one was looking. Ethan wondered what kind of life she had before she was brought here. He had read the papers. She had been taken from her home world as a child. She had no family here, no rights, no name outside of the station's list. The name Lena Gray was chosen for records, not for her. It was hard for Ethan to imagine. In his world, everyone had freedom. Everyone had a choice. To him, the idea that a person could be bought and sold was wrong. One evening, Ethan was fixing a malfunctioning air conduit in the lower maintenance hall. He noticed Lena passing by with her tray. A small pipe had hissed, spraying steam near her. She froze, and Ethan ran to her side. "Watch out," he said softly. She flinched and almost dropped the tray. He grabbed it and held it steady. Her golden eyes widened, looking at him. Thank you," she whispered. It was the first time she had spoken to a human directly. Ethan nodded. "You're welcome. Are you okay?" She hesitated, then nodded quickly. She ran away, bowing slightly as she left. Ethan's heart sank. He wished he could help her more, but he did not know how. Over the next few days, Ethan tried small ways to connect. He left her tools for cleaning in better condition, replaced broken trays, and sometimes left small notes in her work area. He wrote simple things like, "You can rest a little if no one sees," or "Try not to carry too much at once." Lena would glance at the notes, a small flicker of relief on her face, but she never spoke in response. Other humans told Ethan he was wasting his time, that the aliens would punish her if she got too comfortable. Ethan did not care. He wanted her to know she was not invisible. He wanted her to know someone cared. One day, Ethan saw her alone near a storage deck. Vorin was away on a mission and she had a moment of quiet. Ethan approached slowly. "Hello," he said. Lena froze, then nodded. She did not smile. Ethan took a deep breath. "My name is Ethan. I work here in maintenance." She looked down. "I know," she said quietly. Ethan nodded. "Do you want to talk?" She shook her head. "I cannot," she whispered. "I have no right." Ethan felt sadness in his chest. "You have a right to be free," he said softly. Lena's eyes widened. "Free? I cannot be free," she said. Ethan knelt slightly to be at her level. "Everyone can be free. It is only a matter of trying." Lena looked at him, confused, scared, and maybe hopeful. She turned and ran down the hall before she could answer. Ethan watched her go, hoping she understood his words. Weeks passed and Ethan observed more. He saw the way other aliens treated her. Some laughed when she made mistakes. Others ordered her around loudly, calling her names. She did not fight back. She did not cry. She simply followed orders, and sometimes, when she thought no one was looking, she would touch the mark on her wrist, her eyes filled with sadness. Ethan wanted to do something. He studied the station rules, the laws of the Trade Alliance, and old records. He discovered something interesting. There were old loopholes, old debts, old contracts that could be used to gain legal control over a slave, but in a way that could also free them. He felt a spark of hope. Maybe he could help Lena. Maybe he could give her a life she never had. One evening, Ethan stayed late in the maintenance bay working on the station systems. Lena came in quietly to carry some tools back. She froze when she saw him, expecting anger or punishment. Ethan smiled gently. "Hi, Lena," he said. She blinked. "Hi," she whispered. Ethan gestured to a broken panel. "Can you help me with this? Just watch first." She stepped closer, curious. Ethan showed her how to release a small bolt and adjust the wiring. Lena watched, her hands trembling slightly. Ethan did not correct her, only guided her. When she finally touched the wires carefully, Ethan said, "Good job, you are careful, you are smart." Lena's eyes softened, and for a moment she smiled just a little. Ethan felt warmth in his chest. It was the first time he had seen her act like herself. After that day, they met in secret whenever they could. Ethan taught her simple things about machines, about numbers, about life in the human worlds. Lena began to talk more, asking questions, sharing small thoughts. "What is it like to be free?" she asked one night. Ethan smiled. "It is scary at first, but it is the best feeling. You choose what to do, you choose who to be, no one owns you." Lena nodded slowly, thinking. "I have never been like that," she whispered. Ethan's heart ached. He wanted to fix her world, make her safe, let her be herself. He knew it would be dangerous. The alien officers would not allow a slave to gain freedom so easily, but he could not stand by and do nothing. One morning, Ethan saw Voren walking through the main hall, Lena following silently behind. The officer's scales glinted under the station lights. He barked orders, and Lena obeyed without hesitation. Ethan wanted to step forward to tell Voren to leave her alone, but he stayed hidden. He saw how small she looked next to the massive officer, how careful her movements were, how much fear was in her eyes. It made him more determined. He would find a way. He would find a way to give her freedom, even if it meant breaking the rules of the station, even if it meant risking himself. By the end of the week, Ethan had made a plan. He gathered information about slave contracts, about trade laws, and about the debts the aliens held. It was complicated and it was dangerous, but Ethan was not afraid. He thought about Lena, her small hands, her golden eyes, her quiet voice. She had never chosen her life, and he wanted to give her a choice. He wanted to show her what it meant to live without chains. Lena began to notice his efforts. She was cautious but curious. For the first time, she allowed herself to hope. Maybe one day she could be free. Maybe one day she would be able to speak, walk, and live like other beings. Ethan did not promise anything. He only promised that he would try and that he would not let her remain invisible. He would not let her remain a tool of fear and cruelty. In the quiet corners of the station, a human and a slave began to share trust. Slowly, the impossible idea of freedom took root. Lena learned that someone could care for her without expecting her to obey blindly, and Ethan learned that even small kindness could spark hope. As the station hummed with activity, as aliens shouted and orders echoed, a silent bond formed between the human and the slave. It was dangerous, fragile, and secret, but it was real. Ethan thought to himself, one day this quiet green-eyed alien would not just serve others. One day she would be herself, and he would make sure of it. Ethan Cole worked quietly in the maintenance bay, thinking about Lena. He had spent weeks watching her, learning her habits and understanding how the station worked. He knew freeing her would not be easy. The aliens had strict rules and personal slaves were considered property. No one expected a human to interfere. Ethan did not care. He wanted to give her a choice, a life she had never had. He spent nights reading old station records. He discovered forgotten contracts, debts that had never been collected, and loopholes in the laws of the trade alliance. If he could purchase her contract under these old rules, he might gain legal control in a way that allowed her freedom. It was risky. If the alien officers noticed, he could be punished, and Lena could be taken away. But Ethan felt he had no other choice. He had to try. He began saving his earnings, cutting costs on food and supplies, and working extra shifts. He repaired machines beyond his normal duties, taking small rewards and storing them carefully. Lena noticed small changes in the maintenance bay. Tools were organized better, spare parts were ready, and small messages sometimes appeared, reminding her to rest or be careful. She still did not speak much, but she began to watch Ethan closely, curious. She could feel that he was planning something that might change her life. One evening, Ethan approached her in the lower hall. "Lena," he said softly. She flinched, then looked at him. "I have a question," he said. "Do you want to be free?" Lena's golden eyes widened. She hesitated. I do not know," she whispered. Ethan nodded. "It is scary, but you deserve a choice. You do not have to obey anyone. You do not have to serve anyone unless you want to." Lena looked down at her hands, trembling. I cannot," she said quietly. Ethan shook his head. "You can. I will help. I will make it legal. No one can take that from you." Lena did not respond immediately, but she looked at him longer than before. She wondered if this human really could help her. Over the next week, Ethan worked carefully on the plan. He submitted requests to the Trade Alliance archives, copying old debt records and slave contracts. He studied the alien officer Voron's transactions, learning when and how slaves were transferred. He also observed Lena's schedule, making sure he could reach her without drawing attention. It was a delicate balance. If anyone noticed he was helping a personal slave, there would be trouble. Yet Ethan moved with determination. Every small success made him more confident. Lena continued her work, carrying trays, cleaning offices, and following orders. She noticed small gestures from Ethan, little protections and kind words. It was strange to her. No one had ever cared for her without expecting obedience. She began to think about freedom, though the idea seemed impossible. What would it feel like to walk without fear, to eat without waiting for permission, to speak without trembling? The thought scared her, but it also gave her hope. One day, Ethan spoke to a station clerk quietly. "I want to buy Lena's contract," he said. The clerk raised an eyebrow. "Are you serious? A human cannot own a personal slave. You would be laughed at." Ethan nodded. "I am serious. I want her free. I will follow every legal step. I can pay the debt. I can make it official." The clerk hesitated. "This has never been done. The aliens will not like it. They will interfere." Ethan leaned closer. "I am willing to take the risk. She deserves freedom." The clerk finally agreed to help, quietly checking records and preparing documents. Ethan's heart raced. It was a small step, but it was real. Lena noticed Ethan acting differently. He was more tense, more focused, and he spent less time in the hallways chatting. She wondered what he was doing. One afternoon, while he repaired a broken conduit, she asked softly, "Ethan, what are you doing?" He smiled faintly. "I am trying to give you a choice. A life that is yours." Lena blinked. "Me? I do not understand." Ethan shook his head. "You will soon. You can be free if you want. No one can stop us if we follow the rules." Lena looked down. The idea was strange, frightening, and thrilling all at once. She nodded slowly. I hope I can be free," she whispered. Ethan smiled. "You will." As the days passed, Ethan gathered enough credits and documents to submit the purchase. He made sure the transaction followed every legal requirement. He submitted the forms to the council, including the debts and old contracts. Then he waited. It was tense. The council ignored his first request, saying it was unusual and unnecessary. Ethan persisted, sending additional proof and requesting a hearing. Finally, a small council session was called. Alien officials sat in high chairs, glowering at the human who dared challenge tradition. Ethan stood calmly, holding the papers. Lena watched from a distance, unseen by most, her heart racing. She had never imagined anything like this. She felt fear, hope, and disbelief all at once. During the council hearing, Ethan spoke simply. "I request legal ownership of Lena Gray. I intend to free her immediately." The documents show old debts and contracts that allow this purchase. She deserves a choice in her life. No one should own her against her will. The aliens whispered and hissed. Some laughed. "A human cannot understand our ways," one said. "This is absurd." "She is property," Ethan remained calm. "I understand your rules, but the rules also allow this, and the law supports the transfer. I follow the law, not your opinion." The council was shocked. No human had ever spoken this way. Lena watched silently, tears forming in her eyes. She could hardly believe what was happening. A human was standing up for her in front of everyone and using their rules to protect her. It seemed impossible. After hours of discussion, the council finally approved the transfer. Lena's contract was legally purchased by Ethan Cole. The aliens were angry, some openly insulting him, but no one could reverse the decision. Lena could not speak at first. She only stared at Ethan, golden eyes wide, trembling. Ethan approached her slowly. "It is done," he said softly. "You are legally mine, but not as a servant. I will not command you. I will not control you. You are free to choose." Lena could not believe her ears. "Free," she whispered. Ethan nodded. "Free. You can stay, leave, or go wherever you want." "It is your choice." Lena's heart raced. She could hardly imagine a life without orders, without fear, without chains. She nodded slowly, tears sliding down her cheeks. I thank you," she whispered. Ethan smiled. "No, thank you for trusting me." After the hearing, the station was buzzing. Other aliens were confused and angry. Personal slaves began whispering among themselves, wondering if humans could actually help them. Some dared to hope. Lena stayed close to Ethan, afraid of the chaos, but also fascinated by her own new power to choose. She had never had it before. She realized she had never been seen as a person until now. Ethan guided her gently, showing her how to navigate the new rules, how to move without fear, and how to make simple decisions that had been forbidden before. She felt dizzy from the sudden change, but also exhilarated. For the first time, she could imagine her life as her own. Voran, the alien officer, returned from his mission and noticed the absence of Lena's mark in the council registry. He was furious. He demanded answers. Ethan met him calmly. "She is free," Ethan said. "Legally free, you cannot command her." "She chooses for herself," Voran bellowed, shaking with anger. "A human cannot interfere with property," Ethan stood firm. "The law allowed it. You may not like it, but it is legal. She is not property anymore." The room went silent. Even some aliens who disliked humans were impressed by Ethan's courage. Lena watched, amazed. She had never imagined anyone could fight like this for her. For the first time, she felt truly protected, and she realized that freedom was not just a dream. That night, Lena and Ethan walked through the quiet hallways. Lena moved carefully, testing her new freedom. She could stop, turn, and look at anyone without fear. Ethan walked beside her, giving her support without command. "It is strange," Lena said softly. "I feel strange. Like I am alive for the first time." Ethan smiled. "That is what freedom feels like. Scary but wonderful. You will get used to it." Lena nodded slowly, thinking about the life ahead. She felt hope, fear, and excitement all at once. For the first time, she imagined a future where she made choices. A life not controlled by anyone else. A life where she could speak, walk, and live as herself. Over the next days, Ethan helped Lena learn more about freedom. He taught her about human worlds, about laws, and about her own rights. Lena asked questions, absorbing everything eagerly. She learned how to read documents, how to handle small responsibilities, and how to plan her day. Ethan did not force her, but he guided her patiently. Lena felt strong for the first time, proud of herself. She realized that she could think, speak, and act without fear. She began to imagine what she wanted from her life, not what others demanded of her. The story of a human freeing a personal slave spread quietly through the station. Some aliens were angry, some confused, and some curious. Other slaves began to hope. Lena's freedom became a symbol, small but powerful, that maybe rules could change and maybe kindness could win. Lena still trembled sometimes, still feared punishment, but she knew Ethan would protect her. She knew she had a choice. For the first time in her life, Lena felt like a person, not a tool. And Ethan felt something new too. He had never fought for someone else before. Now he realized that helping her gave him a purpose beyond his work. He would do whatever it took to protect her, guide her, and let her live as she chose. And so, a human engineer and a freed alien woman began their quiet journey together. The station watched in disbelief, some mocking, some admiring. Lena learned how to be free, Ethan learned how far he could fight for justice, and both of them discovered that small acts of courage could change lives. For the first time, Lena believed in herself. And for the first time, Ethan saw how powerful kindness could be in a galaxy that often ignored it. Lena Gray could hardly believe it. She was free. The mark on her wrist still glowed faintly, a reminder of what she had been, but now it had no power over her. She walked through the station corridors for the first time without fear. She noticed things she had never paid attention to before: the hum of the engines, the smells of different foods, the laughter of humans and aliens alike. It was strange and wonderful, but also frightening. She had spent her whole life obeying orders. Now she had choices, and choices were hard. Ethan Cole walked beside her, patient and calm. He did not order her or tell her what to do. He only guided her when she looked unsure. "You can go anywhere, Lena," he said softly. "You can do anything you want, even small things, just try." Lena nodded slowly, glancing around. Her legs felt strange, like they did not know how to carry her on her own. She realized she had never walked with her head held high, never looked around for herself instead of for others. The freedom made her dizzy, but it also made her feel alive. For the first few days, Lena stayed close to Ethan. She did not want to be alone, not yet. She was afraid that other aliens might try to take her back or punish her for being free. Ethan understood. He introduced her to other humans on the station, explained the laws that protected her, and helped her gain a legal identity. Lena stared at the documents, her name written clearly, her rights listed in words she could read. She touched the papers gently, almost afraid they might disappear. "This is real," she whispered. Ethan nodded. "It is real. You are free." Lena blinked back tears. For the first time, she felt like she belonged somewhere. Not everyone on the station was happy. The alien officer Vorin was furious. He stomped through the halls, his dark scales glinting, demanding explanations. "How can a human claim ownership of my property?" he roared. Ethan met him calmly. "She is not property, she is a person. The law allows me to protect her. You cannot take her." Vorin bellowed and hissed, but the council had already approved the transfer. No one could reverse it. Lena watched from the shadows, her heart racing. She had never imagined that anyone would stand up for her like this. It made her feel small and large at the same time. She felt fear, yes, but also strength she had never known. As days passed, Lena began to explore freedom. She tried small things first. She chose what to eat for herself without waiting for permission. She walked to places she had never been allowed. She practiced speaking without bending her head or lowering her voice. Ethan taught her to read, to ask questions, to express her feelings. Lena learned quickly. She discovered that she could think for herself, make small decisions, and even say no. It was thrilling but also exhausting. She had never used her mind for herself before. She had always obeyed. Now every thought was her own, and it was strange to feel her own desires. Lena also began to notice the reactions of others. Some aliens whispered, confused and angry. Some personal slaves watched quietly, wondering if they could ever be like her. Humans admired Ethan quietly, though some were cautious, knowing the aliens might resent his actions. Lena felt a strange mix of pride and fear. She had never been proud of herself before. Now she was. She realized that freedom was not just about moving or speaking. It was about feeling, thinking, and existing as a person. She had never known that before. One day, Lena and Ethan went to the observation deck. The station floated above the gas giant, a swirl of gray and white clouds below. Lena stared at the view, her golden eyes wide. "It is beautiful," she said softly. Ethan smiled. "It is, and now you can see it any time you want. No one can stop you." Lena nodded slowly, feeling a warmth in her chest. For the first time, she felt hope for the future. She could imagine a life beyond serving others, a life where she could make choices, dream, and even be happy. She realized that freedom was not just a gift, it was a chance. But freedom was not easy. Lena struggled with small decisions. Should she speak to Voron directly or avoid him? Should she join the humans in their activities or stay in quiet corners? Ethan guided her gently. "You can decide," he said. "No one else has to approve, it is your choice." Lena took deep breaths, tried, and made small decisions every day. Each success gave her confidence. Each small act of independence made her stronger. She began to feel proud of herself, not because anyone told her to, but because she had chosen. Lena also discovered emotions she had never felt. She laughed softly when Ethan showed her a human joke. She frowned when she learned that some aliens still disliked her. She felt curiosity, excitement, and even fear at the same time. It was overwhelming, but she liked it. She realized that being free meant feeling everything, not just obeying. She had never thought about what she wanted before. Now she had to think, and it was strange and wonderful. As Lena grew more confident, she began to speak to other humans and free aliens. She asked questions about their worlds, their laws, and their lives. She listened and learned, absorbing knowledge like a sponge. Ethan smiled quietly, proud of her. He saw her transformation. She was still shy, still cautious, but she was beginning to act and think for herself. She was learning what it meant to be alive. The alien officer Voron did not give up. He tried small acts of intimidation. He demanded reports, tried to order Lena around, and even threatened Ethan. Lena felt fear, but Ethan reminded her of her rights. "You do not have to obey," he said. "You are free, speak for yourself." Lena was scared at first, but she found her voice. "I am free," she said firmly once when Voron tried to command her. The room went silent. The other aliens stared. Lena felt a surge of power. She had never spoken like that before. She realized she did not have to obey anyone. She had choices. She had power over her own life. It was frightening, but she liked it. Over the next weeks, Lena and Ethan worked closely. They repaired station systems together, studied and practiced speaking to others. Lena discovered a joy she had never known. She began to plan her future, even in small ways. What should she learn next? Where should she go when she was ready? She realized she had the ability to dream. Dreaming had been forbidden to her before. Now it was possible. She smiled quietly to herself, feeling a happiness she had never imagined. Some slaves noticed Lena's transformation. They watched from corners, curious and cautious. Some whispered about her courage, about the human who had freed her. Hope began to spread quietly. If a human could act for one slave, maybe change was possible. Lena felt a responsibility she had never imagined. She could not undo what had been done, but she could show others that freedom was possible. It was a strange and heavy thought, but she liked it. She wanted to help others in whatever small way she could. Lena also began to notice her feelings for Ethan. She realized she trusted him more than anyone. He had protected her, guided her, and given her choices. She did not know what these feelings were yet. They were confusing, warm, and safe all at once. Ethan noticed her looking at him sometimes, but he did not rush anything. He wanted her to feel free in every way, including her emotions. He wanted her to choose, not feel pressured. Lena realized that she could care for someone without being forced. It was a strange and wonderful feeling. One day, Ethan took Lena to the small library on the station. He showed her books and learning materials. "You can choose what to study," he said. Lena looked at the rows of books in amazement. She had never been allowed to learn so freely. She picked one about alien cultures, another about human history, and even a simple guide to engineering. Ethan smiled. "You can explore anything you want. No one will stop you." Lena nodded slowly, her heart racing. She felt alive in a way she never had before. Learning was freedom too. She could choose what to know, what to remember, and what to dream. Lena's life began to change quickly. She learned to manage small tasks, to speak up when needed, and to enjoy quiet moments for herself. Ethan stayed by her side, supporting without commanding. Slowly, she began to see herself not as a slave, not as a tool, but as a person. She felt her own strength and courage grow. She realized that she could make choices, face fear, and live on her own terms. For the first time, she understood that freedom was not just being allowed to move, it was being allowed to exist fully. One night, Lena and Ethan watched the gas giant below. The clouds swirled in gray and white, reflecting the station lights. Lena took a deep breath. "Ethan, I think I understand," she said softly. "Freedom, it is more than not being a slave, it is being me." Ethan smiled and nodded. "Yes, Lena, it is being you, you choose. Every step, every thought, every word, it is yours." Lena looked at him, golden eyes shining. She felt a warmth in her chest, a mix of hope, fear, and joy. She realized that the impossible was now real. She was free. She was alive, and she was beginning to know herself. And so, Lena Gray took her first true steps into freedom. With Ethan beside her, she explored life, learned to think, speak, and dream. The station watched in shock, confusion, and quiet admiration. Lena's courage and the human's determination became a small spark of hope, showing that change was possible. She would still face challenges, fear, and uncertainty, but now she had choice. Now she could be herself. And in that choice, Lena discovered strength, courage, and the first taste of true happiness. Lena Gray was learning to live as a free person, but freedom was not simple. Alien officers still watched her, suspicious and angry. Some whispered about the human who had freed her. Others tried to intimidate her, testing her courage. Lena felt fear at times, but she remembered Ethan's words. "You are free. Speak for yourself. Act for yourself. No one can control you." She clung to those words like a lifeline. She wanted to be brave, and she wanted to learn how to face the world without fear. Ethan Cole worked closely with her every day. They repaired station systems together, studied old laws, and explored corners of the station that Lena had never seen. Ethan never forced her to act, never told her what to feel. He guided her gently, answering questions and encouraging her. Lena began to see him not just as a protector, but as a partner. He treated her with respect, patience, and care, and she realized that freedom was stronger when someone stood beside you, not above you. The alien officer Vorin did not give up. He demanded reports, tried to assert authority over Lena, and whispered threats when he saw Ethan. "She belongs to me," he hissed to another officer. "A human cannot take what is mine." The other aliens were uneasy. They had never seen a human act so boldly. Ethan confronted Vorin calmly. "She is not yours," he said quietly but firmly. "You have no claim. The law supports her freedom. If you interfere, there will be consequences." Vorin's scales shimmered with anger. He wanted to shout, to strike, to humiliate Ethan. But the council's approval was final and Vorin had no legal power. Lena watched the confrontation from a safe distance, her heart pounding. She realized that she had allies and she had the law on her side. It gave her courage she had never known. With each passing day, Lena learned to assert herself more. She spoke to other aliens politely but firmly. She asked questions about the station, about trade, about science. Some of the aliens sneered, but many began to respect her. They saw that she was no longer a timid slave. She made decisions, solved problems, and sometimes offered advice that was helpful. Lena felt proud. She had never been able to show her mind or her strength before. Now she was learning to stand as her own person, and it felt powerful. Ethan noticed her growth and encouraged it. "You can speak up in meetings," he said one day. "You have knowledge, your opinion matters. You can be seen as a person, not just as someone who serves." Lena was nervous, but she tried. She raised her voice carefully in a council session, explaining a technical problem she had observed. The aliens paused, surprised. Lena's words were clear and logical. Even Vorin could not argue. Lena felt a surge of pride. She realized that freedom was not only about moving and choosing. It was about using her mind, expressing her thoughts, and being heard. As Lena grew more confident, the station's humans began to see her as a symbol. Some whispered quietly, "If a human can free a personal slave, maybe it is possible for others too." Hope began to spread quietly among the slaves. Lena was careful not to speak to them openly yet. She was still learning herself. But she realized that her freedom could inspire others, and it gave her a sense of purpose she had never had. She wanted to show that courage and kindness could change lives. Vorin, frustrated and humiliated, tried new tactics. He sent guards to intimidate Lena, ordered tasks that were impossible, and spread rumors about Ethan. Lena felt fear again, but she had learned to stand. She remembered Ethan's words and her own growing strength. When a guard tried to stop her from walking past a hallway, Lena spoke firmly. "I am free. I may pass." The guard hesitated, confused. Lena walked calmly past. She realized that fear could be faced with courage, even in small acts. Each small victory made her stronger. One afternoon, Ethan and Lena worked in the station's power core. The lights flickered and machines groaned. It was dangerous, but they moved carefully together. Lena followed instructions, but she also made suggestions. "If we reroute the power through that panel, it will stabilize faster," she said. Ethan smiled. "Good thinking. Yes, do it." Lena touched the panel, her hand steady. For the first time, she felt like she was not just following orders but contributing, making a difference. She realized that freedom was also about responsibility. She could choose, and her choices had impact. It was frightening but exciting. As days turned into weeks, Lena and Ethan grew closer. They shared meals, talked about the station, and even laughed quietly at small jokes. Lena began to notice her feelings for Ethan. She felt warmth, trust, and a desire to be near him. She was confused at first. She had never had these feelings, but she liked them. Ethan noticed too, but he never pressured her. He wanted her to choose freely, even in emotions. Lena realized that love, trust, and respect could coexist with freedom. She could care for someone without losing herself. It was a new and strange feeling, but one she cherished. Tensions on the station grew. Some aliens attempted small rebellions, claiming that Lena's freedom was dangerous. They said that the humans were interfering in alien customs. Ethan and Lena faced scrutiny, whispers, and occasional threats, but Lena no longer trembled. She learned to speak calmly, explain herself, and rely on the law. Ethan guided her, but he also let her face challenges on her own. Each success made her stronger. She began to see herself as a capable individual, not a scared child. Freedom was hard work, but it was worth it. One day, the council called a special session. Other alien leaders from nearby stations were arriving. They wanted to see how a human had freed a personal slave. Lena felt nervous. She had never faced such attention. Ethan held her hand lightly. "You can do this," he said. "Just be yourself." Lena nodded, taking a deep breath. When the session began, she spoke clearly and calmly. She explained how she had been treated, what she had learned, and how freedom had changed her. The aliens listened in silence. Her voice was steady, her eyes bright. She realized that she could influence others, even those who had once seen her as weak. After the session, whispers filled the halls. Some aliens were angry, but others were impressed. Lena realized that courage and truth could be more powerful than fear. She had spoken for herself, without commands, without orders, without fear. She had proven that a personal slave could be more than a tool, that a human could act with justice, and that freedom was real. Ethan smiled quietly beside her, proud of her strength. Lena felt a warmth in her chest. She was not just alive, she was seen. She was respected. She was free. As the days passed, Lena and Ethan worked to strengthen her place on the station. They met with council members, explained laws, and showed how her freedom did not disrupt the station. Slowly, other aliens began to accept her. She even began teaching small lessons to other curious slaves in secret, showing them that freedom could be real one day. Lena realized that her journey was no longer just for herself. She had a responsibility to show others that courage, trust, and kindness could make a difference. She felt purpose and strength, things she had never imagined. Ethan and Lena also found moments of peace together. They shared meals, watched the gas giant below the station, and spoke quietly about dreams and hopes. Lena began to feel a bond with him that went beyond gratitude. She trusted him completely, admired his courage, and felt a deep warmth in his presence. Ethan felt the same. He cared for her, respected her, and wanted her happiness above all else. Their friendship grew, delicate and strong at the same time. Lena realized that love could exist freely, without chains, without fear, without pressure. It was a new feeling, but one she embraced. One night, while walking on the observation deck, Lena looked at the swirling clouds of the gas giant below. "Ethan," she said softly, "I never imagined life could be like this. I never imagined I could choose." Ethan smiled. "Now you can. Every step, every thought, every word is yours. Freedom is not just about leaving chains behind. It is about living fully." Lena nodded. She felt a surge of hope and determination. She realized that her future was hers to shape, and that she could face fear, challenge, and danger with courage. She had learned that freedom was not simple, but it was worth everything. As the station continued its routines, Lena and Ethan became a quiet symbol. Other humans admired their courage. Some aliens whispered cautiously about change. Other slaves began to hope, seeing that freedom could exist. Lena realized that her life had shifted completely. She was no longer a personal slave. She was alive, seen, and strong. She had learned courage, trust, responsibility, and even love. She understood that her journey was just beginning. She had faced fear, learned to act, and found her own strength. With Ethan by her side, she knew she could face anything. And so, Lena Gray, once a personal slave, walked with courage and freedom. She learned to act for herself, speak for herself, and inspire others. The station watched in shock, awe, and quiet admiration. Alien officers still grumbled, but Lena no longer feared them. She had choice, she had law, she had strength. And she had Ethan, who had shown her that even in a galaxy full of cruelty and control, kindness, courage, and freedom could change everything. Lena Gray stood on the observation deck, looking out at the swirling clouds of the gas giant below. She had come a long way from the frightened slave who had carried trays for Voron. Now, she walked freely, spoke clearly, and made choices for herself. She still felt fear at times, but she had learned courage. She had learned to act, to think, and to live as her own person. She was free, and she was beginning to understand what that truly meant. Ethan Cole walked beside her, calm and steady. He had been her guide, her protector, and her friend. He had helped her navigate the dangers of the station, the anger of alien officers, and the complexities of freedom. Lena had learned to trust him completely. She realized that she admired him deeply, more than she had thought possible. Ethan noticed the way her eyes lit up when she spoke, the way she smiled quietly when no one else was watching. He felt the same. He cared for her, wanted her happiness, and admired her courage. The station continued its usual routines, but whispers of Lena's freedom had spread. Other slaves watched her carefully, hoping for change. Some aliens grumbled, still angry that a human had interfered, but they could not undo the council's decision. Lena had become a symbol, not intentionally, but by simply being herself. Her life was proof that change was possible, that courage and kindness could challenge even the strongest rules. She felt a sense of responsibility she had never imagined. She could not undo the past, but she could show others that freedom was real. Voran, the alien officer, had tried one last time to intimidate her. He demanded reports, shouted orders, and made threats. Lena felt fear at first, but she remembered Ethan's words and the lessons she had learned. She stood tall, her golden eyes steady. "I am free," she said firmly. "I will speak, act, and live as I choose. No one can take that from me." The aliens in the room fell silent. Ethan smiled quietly beside her, proud of her courage. Lena realized that she no longer needed to hide or fear. She could face challenges with strength, and she could speak for herself. Over the next weeks, Ethan and Lena worked to solidify her position on the station. They met with council members, explained laws, and demonstrated that Lena's freedom did not disrupt the station. Lena spoke for herself in meetings, offering insights and solving problems. The aliens began to respect her more, some reluctantly, others with genuine admiration. Lena felt pride. She had never imagined that a personal slave could be seen this way. She realized that courage, knowledge, and integrity could earn respect, even in a galaxy that often ignored kindness. Lena also explored her own desires. She chose what to eat, where to go, and how to spend her time. She began learning more about human culture, studying history, science, and language. Ethan guided her, but he never forced her. Lena discovered that freedom was not just about leaving chains behind, it was about making choices, learning, growing, and dreaming. She felt alive in a way she had never known. The station felt larger, brighter, and full of possibilities. Their relationship deepened. Lena realized that she cared for Ethan in a way she had never experienced. She felt warmth, trust, and admiration. Ethan felt the same, but he never pressured her. He wanted her to choose freely in every way. One evening, as they watched the gas giant below, Ethan took Lena's hand gently. "Lena," he said softly, "I want you to know that I care for you. I respect you. And I hope that whatever you choose, you will be happy." Lena looked at him, her golden eyes shining. She realized that she had the power to choose even in matters of the heart. She smiled quietly. I want to be with you," she said softly. Ethan's face lit up with a gentle smile. He did not rush, he simply held her hand. Lena felt a joy she had never known, a feeling of equality, trust, and love all at once. News of Lena's choice spread quietly across nearby systems. Other slaves began to hope. Humans and aliens alike whispered about the courage it took to claim freedom and to stand beside someone who believed in justice. Lena understood that her life had changed not only for herself, but for others. She could show that even in harsh systems, courage, kindness, and determination could bring change. She felt a sense of purpose and responsibility. Freedom was not just personal, it could inspire others. Alien officers who had once mocked her began to treat her differently. Some grudgingly accepted her presence, while others watched carefully, unsure of how to respond. Lena was careful but firm. She spoke with confidence, acted with respect, and never allowed fear to dictate her actions. She had learned that freedom required vigilance, courage, and intelligence. She had also learned that support and trust could make a difference. Ethan remained by her side, steady and patient, helping her when needed, but allowing her to act independently. Lena realized that this partnership, built on respect and trust, was stronger than any command or threat. One day, Ethan asked Lena what she wanted for the future. She paused, thinking carefully. "I want to live freely, learn more, help others, and be with you," she said softly. Ethan nodded, his heart full. "Then we will make that real," he said. "I will not command you. I will stand with you, and together we will build our life." Lena felt a warmth in her chest, a mix of hope, excitement, and love. She realized that she could choose not only her own life, but also her own path in a partnership based on equality. The council, aware of Lena's growing presence, allowed her more responsibilities. She began assisting with technical issues, training others, and offering advice on legal and ethical matters. Lena found joy in contributing, in helping, and in learning. She had never imagined that a personal slave could have such influence. She realized that freedom came with responsibility and that she was capable of meeting it. Each day gave her confidence, knowledge, and strength. Ethan and Lena also spent time exploring personal moments. They shared quiet meals, watched the stars, and spoke about dreams. Lena learned that love and trust could exist without chains, fear, or obedience. She could care for someone without losing herself. Ethan taught her patience, respect, and kindness. Together, they built a life based on equality and choice. Lena felt a peace she had never known, a warmth that filled her heart, and a sense of belonging that she had never experienced before. As weeks turned into months, the station settled. Alien officers still grumbled, but Lena's courage and the humans' determination had created change that could not be undone. Other slaves began to ask questions, observe quietly, and even hope. Lena realized that her life had become a beacon of possibility. She had once been invisible, powerless, and afraid. Now she was seen, respected, and strong. She had faced fear, learned courage, and embraced freedom fully. She felt alive in a way she could never have imagined. Finally, Ethan asked Lena to consider something more. "Lena," he said gently, "I want us to make a life together. Not because you owe me anything, not because I command, but because we choose it together. Will you marry me?" Lena blinked, surprised but joyful. She thought carefully. She realized that for the first time, every choice was truly hers. She could say yes freely with her heart and mind open. "Yes," she whispered softly. Ethan smiled and they held hands, feeling the bond of trust, respect, and love. Lena understood that marriage was not chains. It was partnership, choice, and equality. She felt happy, proud, and free. Their wedding was small but meaningful. Humans and free aliens attended. Ethan and Lena stood together, side by side, not as master and slave, but as equals. The council recognized the union officially, marking a moment of change for the station and for nearby systems. Lena felt joy, freedom, and belonging. She realized that the impossible had become real. She had chosen her life, her path, and her partner. She had embraced love, courage, and equality. It was a new beginning, full of possibilities. Lena and Ethan continued to live on the station, building their partnership and helping others when they could. Lena's presence inspired hope, courage, and change. Other slaves quietly began to hope. Humans quietly admired their courage, and aliens quietly learned that respect, freedom, and kindness could create real power. Lena had once been a personal slave, invisible and powerless. Now she was free, strong, and loved. She had chosen her life, her partner, and her destiny. She had shown that courage, trust, and freedom could overcome fear and control. And so, Lena Gray, once a personal slave, walked freely through the station, side by side with Ethan Cole. She was not invisible, she was not a tool, and she was not afraid. She was free, loved, and strong. Together, they built a life based on equality, choice, and courage. Their story spread quietly through the systems, showing that even in a galaxy filled with control and fear, freedom, respect, and kindness could change everything. Lena had found her life, her voice, and her heart. She was no longer a slave. She was herself. She was alive.